The good news is that some of the New York Islanders' injured players are close to returning, but the big question is who has to be out of the lineup once these players come back. We'll tell you who and why on some decisions that'll have a big impact on the future of this team coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And thank you for helping to make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We couldn't have done it without you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad that you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey, and we've got plenty to discuss. A couple of injured Islanders players close to returning to the lineup, but that means 2 players will have to sit. We'll talk about the candidates and why certain players should sit and the impact that will have on the team. We'll also talk about the slumping Simon Holmstrom and what's been off on his game, and we'll preview tonight's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. So lots to get to on this episode. The good news for the New York Islanders, Jean-Gabriel Pageau probably going to play tonight against Vegas, although we'll find out more at the morning skate on Tuesday. But he is now officially day-to-day, where he was week-to-week when the injury first happened. And Jonathan Drouin is also closer to returning than he has been. Whether or not he'll be available as soon as Pageau, I think it'll probably be a little while longer on Drouin. But either way, they're both close. And barring setbacks, that means that 2 players who have been in the lineup over the last week or so are going to have to take a seat in the press box. And realistically, 1 player at least is going to have to go back down to Bridgeport. Now, the last player to be called up was Mark Gatcom. And Gatcom, I think it would be the easiest thing would be to say, okay, we send Mark Gatcom back down to Bridgeport because he was the last guy called up. He was called up when injuries hit Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Pageau was healthy. We send Gatcom back. That's the easy thing. But it's not the right move. When you look at the energy and the sense of purpose that Mark Gatcom has given the fourth line in, granted, a small sample size of 2 games, you don't want to take him out of the lineup right now. And look, Gatcom has played, 4 games all year. He has 1 assist. But think about this. 4 games all season for Mark Gatcom. He has 20 hits. 20 hits in 4 games. Jonathan Drouin has 6 hits in 26 games. I mean, again, not a fair comparison because their style of play is so different. But if you've noticed, the fourth line since Gatcom returned has been much more efficient and played better. And it seems that Gatcom has put a little spark in Casey Cizikas and even in Kyle McLean, who had been kind of invisible for a good part of the season before Gatcom was recalled. The problem before Gatcom returned, with one game that I could think of as an exception, The fourth line was a liability at worst and a non-entity at best. You don't want that to be the case. You want to be able to roll four lines and get that fourth line to set the tone for your team. Keeping Gatcom around will do that. I don't want him to go back down to Bridgeport at this point. I want him in the lineup. Other players, I think, who could sit. To me, Max Tsyplakov is a real possibility. Sippy has played 20 games. He has 1 goal, no assists. He is a -6. And while Tsyplakov can hit, he can bring a little physicality, he doesn't seem to me to be a fourth line player. And the problem with Maxim Tsyplakov is there's no room for him in the top 9, but his style isn't particularly well suited to the fourth line. And right now, he just seems like a guy without a home. You don't want to take him completely out of the lineup if you don't have to, but I really don't see where he fits in and who you would put him in the lineup instead of, unless there's a guy you want to bench for a game or two to see, to maybe wake him up and give him that wake-up call. Anthony Duclair has been playing better as of late, but he's another guy like Tsyplakov who, when everybody's healthy, doesn't seem to have a space in the top 9, but really his style isn't well suited for that fourth line. So that's one issue. The other issue is Cal Ritchie. Ritchie has 5 points in 20 games, but he's been playing better as of late. We saw that beautiful goal he had against Tampa Bay that turned out to be the game winner on Saturday. And the fact that J.G. Pageau has been out of the lineup allowed Ritchie to move up from the fourth line to the third line. I don't want Ritchie to go back to the fourth line at this point. I just don't think that suits his game best. Then you got to bench either McLean or Gatcom, and you end up having Cizikas on the wing. No, I would rather even move Cal Ritchie to the second line and then have Matthew Barzal go back to the wing. Again, not so much because I think Barzy is a much better wing than he is a center. He's probably a better center than he is a wing. But as everydayers may recall, and as I've mentioned several times, this team has a little glut at center and not as enough offense right now, especially with Kyle Palmieri and, for now, Jonathan Drouin out of the lineup. They need more firepower on the wing. And then you add the chemistry that we know Bo Horvat has with Matthew Barzal, and that's another reason. So these are all things that Patrick Waugh and Matthew Darche need to figure out. Who sits, who goes, where in the lineup. Knowing Patrick Waugh, there's going to be mixing and matching. I think we will, I am confident when I say that a lot of guys will be in and out of the lineup. A lot of guys will be on and off the fourth line. Matthew Barzal, I could say with the utmost confidence, will see time both on the wing and at center, sometimes within the same game. But ultimately, you want to find out what works. I want to keep Mark Gatcom in the lineup on the fourth line. I want to keep Cal Ritchie in the middle six. And I think that you may want to sit a Duclair or a Tsyplakov, or you could even sit another player who is typically in your top 9 who maybe just needs a game or two in the press box to get his bearings again and sort of get his game back and functioning. We'll see what Patrick Roy does, but we're going to talk about that player who is struggling badly lately and may need to sit for a couple of games. We'll talk about that. Plus, for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a player who scored the very first hat trick in New York Islanders history. Let's see if you can guess who that is. All of that coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you could place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet on next touchdown scorers, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already love your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Islanders with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Just go to lockedonislanders.supercast.com and check the link in the show notes to learn more. So, let's talk about Simon Holmstrom, because as much as I really like Simon Holmstrom and I acknowledge what he's been able to do on the penalty kill, always seems to be dangerous offensively on the penalty kill. But he is in a major scoring drought right now. And it's not even just a scoring drought. Holmstrom right now has 4 goals and 9 points on the season, and he is a -8. But if I asked you the last time Simon Holmstrom recorded a point in a game, the answer would be November 8th. That is a month and a day ago. November 8th, when he recorded an assist in the 5-0 win at Madison Square Garden against the Rangers. And the last time he scored a goal was October 30th, when he scored in Carolina against the Hurricanes. Since then, keep this in mind, Simon Holmstrom has gone 14 games without recording a point. He is a -3, or now a -4, in those games. And he has a grand total of 12 shots on goal in those games. The last 2 games against Tampa Bay and Florida, 0 shots on goal for Simon Holmstrom in both games. 0. Not a winning formula. And everydayers, you've heard me say, one of the things about Simon Holmstrom, and he is very useful to this team in the sense that he's sound defensively, he back checks, he kills penalties, he is not physical at all. And to be successful, Simon Holmstrom needs to be more confident. And right now, he's just not playing with confidence. And you need to see that. And we have talked on this show several times about the lack of confidence that Simon Holmstrom has in his shot. Even with only 4 goals in 27 shots, that's a 14.8% shooting percentage, which, by the way, places him 5th on the team. But he just doesn't shoot enough. He has fewer than 1 shot on goal per game. The shot is good enough, but he seems to lack confidence in it. And that is a real problem. I mean, do you realize that Simon Holmstrom has the same number of shots on the season as Scott Mayfield, although Holmstrom played in 1 extra game? Cal Ritchie, who saw a lot less minutes and has played 9 fewer games than Simon Holmstrom, has only 2 fewer shots on goal. Simon Holmstrom needs to get his confidence back. And for what it's worth, I have observed that there are certain players on this team, no matter how poorly they play, they don't seem to get benched. And right now, Simon Holmstrom appears to be a member of that club. I want to see Holmstrom get his game back, get his swagger back, get that confidence back. I believe he is an integral part of this team long term. He scored 20 goals last year. And all of us, before the season started, were hoping he'd at least match that. And he still could, but not if he's playing the way he's playing right now. We need to see more from Simon Holmstrom. And if it means sitting him for a game or two so he can watch from the press box and get a little bit of a different perspective, I'm okay with that. And maybe it is time to do that. Because when you're getting players back, when Jonathan Drouin returns, maybe you sit Holmstrom for a game or two and then figure out who sits long-term after that. But something has to change. Now, maybe getting J.G. Pageau back will be a bit of a catalyst for Holmstrom because they have very good chemistry. It's worth, I would say, keeping Holmstrom in the lineup, assuming that Pageau returns, let's say, tonight against Vegas, and see if that return and that chemistry does give a little more juice to Holmstrom. But the patience has to be wearing thin, and I'm not saying trade him, and I'm not saying send him to Bridgeport. I'm just saying let the guy sit a game or two to just get back on track. One other little piece of news I wanted to touch on, Ilya Sorokin, Islanders goalie, named the NHL's First Star for the week ending December 7th. He was 3-0-0 over the week, had a .960 save percentage and a 1.33 goals against average. Had his 3rd shutout of the year Saturday against Tampa Bay, and as we've mentioned, is now tied with 25 career shutouts as an Islander with Glenn Chico Resch, who's still Chico Resch for Islanders Hall of Fame next year. Can we get this done, please? It's overdue, and Chico deserves it. And anybody who watched the Islanders play in the 70s, who's old enough to remember from, let's say, 74, 75 until 1980, 81, what Chico Resch meant to this team, he belongs in the Islanders Hall of Fame, probably ahead of some of the guys who are already in there. Let's fix this and bring Chico in for a great ceremony because he deserves to be there. So, congratulations to Ilya Sorokin, a well-deserved honor as the NHL's First Star of the Week, which means he was the best player in the NHL last week. And boy, does that have a big impact on the New York Islanders, especially with the offense hurting with all these injuries. the Islanders have needed Sorokin to step up, and he's done it. And when you think about the lack of scoring that the Islanders have had since Pageau, Palmieri, and Drouin have been out of the lineup, it makes it even more impressive that Sorokin is doing so well because he has so little margin for error. The pressure is definitely on him, and he's coming up big. So congratulations to Ilya Sorokin for his winning the NHL's first star of the week for the week ending Sunday, December 7th. We have got more to get to on today's show. The Islanders host the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. We will talk about that, preview that game. Plus, did you get our Islanders birthday of the day? The first hat trick in Islanders history. We'll talk about that and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you could track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Pick a game, tap a section, and you have your tickets within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. The seat view feature is a game changer. You literally see what the pitch looks like from your exact seat before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets in every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Islanders, Vegas Golden Knights. Tonight, home game for the Islanders after the 2-game Florida road trip, 7 o'clock Eastern time. This is a TNT game, so make sure that you go to the right place if you want to watch this game. Vegas, right now, second place in the Pacific Division. They are 14-6-8 on the season. And, oh, by the way, this is a team that has won their last 4 games, coming off a 3-0 win at New Jersey Friday, a 3-2 win at Madison Square Garden on Sunday, and now they are trying to sweep the 3 New York area teams with this game against the Islanders. And look, Vegas is a perennial contender. They're struggling a little bit right now to score goals. And that, I think, is maybe the biggest surprise. They're 17th in the league in goals scored, which is, right around the middle. 16th would be dead center. They're 9th in goals against. The power play is 6th. So the Islanders do need to stay out of the box. They're scoring 1 out of every 4 power play opportunities. The PK is 11th, just outside the top 10. So special teams are an issue for the New York Islanders in this game. You cannot afford to be giving up power play chances against this team, and it will be tough for the Islanders to score on the power play, although it's always tough for these Islanders right now to score on the power play. The big name on this team, more than anybody, Jack Eichel, 12 goals, 36 points in 28 games. He has 24 assists in 28 games. Mitch Marner, 27 points, but only 5 goals. Ivan Barbashev has 10 goals, but Tomas Hertl leading the team with 13, and Pavel Dorofeev has 11 goals. This is a team that is not easy to play against. They're big, they're skilled, and they're physical. And again, the lack of physicality by the Islanders, you have to hope it doesn't become a big issue. The line combinations for Vegas, Jack Eichel, Ivan Barbashev, and Braden Bowman are the top trio. Brett Howden centers, Mitch Marner and Mark Stone on a very dangerous second line. Tomas Hertl, Brandon Saad, and Pavel Dorofeyev are the third line. And then the fourth line, Riley Smith, centering Cole Reinhardt to his left, Keegan Colasar to his right. On the blue line, Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore are the top pairing. Noah Hannafin and Zach Whitecloud, the second duo. And then Ben Hutton and Caden Korzak are the third pair. In goal, Akira Schmid and Carter Hart. Right now, Alex Pietrangelo, Aiden Hill, William Carlson, and Jeremy Lausen all on IR. So we'll keep an eye to see who the goalie is. For what it's worth, against the Rangers on Sunday, Vegas went with Carter Hart. So I think we're likely to see Schmid in this game. He's 10-2 with a 2.35 goals against and a 903 save percentage. The Islanders, they don't have to be the most physical team in the world in this game, but they cannot be intimidated by Vegas, and they've got to win enough of those 50-50 puck battles in the corners especially. Again, please keep Mark Gatcom in the lineup. I really want to see that fourth line continue to work its magic. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And, well, today would have been the 83rd birthday of former Islanders winger Germain Gagnon. The Chicoutimi, Quebec native made his NHL debut in 1971-72 with the Montreal Canadiens and joined the Islanders in their expansion season of 72-73, scored 12 goals, 41 points, and had 31 penalty minutes in 63 games, played most of 73-74 with the Islanders, and then was dealt to the Chicago Blackhawks, later played for the Kansas City Scouts, and finishes his career after the 75-76 season. He played in 259 NHL games, 40 goals, 141 points, and 72 penalty minutes. Now, he did pass away 14 years ago, unfortunately. But Gagnon has one distinction that will never be taken away. He scored the very first hat trick in New York Islanders history. It came on November 1st, 1972. The Islanders visiting the Oakland County Coliseum Arena against the California Golden Seals. Jerry Desjardins, the Islanders goalie, Gil Martin, the goalie for the Seals. And our Islanders birthday of the day, Germain Gagnon, opens the scoring midway through the first period. Dave Hudson and Ken Murray, the assist. Islanders up 1-0. And then in the third period, Gagnon scores his second goal. Dave Hudson and Billy Harris with the helpers. And with 5 minutes left, he closes out the scoring and gets that first ever Islanders hat trick. Billy Harris with the only assist. Craig Patrick had 2 goals for California, but the Islanders win it by a score of 6-2 for Germain Gagnon, our Islanders birthday of the day. He had 3 goals. He was a +3. He had 5 shots on goal, which tied him with Billy Harris for the team lead. Desjardins, 29 saves to earn the win. And this was only the second win in Islanders history as they beat the Seals 6-2. Second win in Islanders history, first hat trick in Islanders history. The late Germain Gagnon is our Islanders birthday of the day. Thanks for tuning in to today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Islanders so you get all the latest episodes. And did Locked On Islanders make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to members-only Discord channels. And for those of you on video, we sent you the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NHL game night on Locked On NHL. So again, the link is in the show notes. And thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I'm live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for a little instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We will have our key takeaways from tonight's game against the Vegas Golden Knights, and we will also have our weekly farm and prospects report. So make sure you join us for that. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.